Okay, thank you for the introduction, Prem. The topic for my talk today is about over-the-air app updates. So, what are OTA updates? So, let's say you want to ship an update to App Store or Play Store. So, what you would do is you would create a release build, then upload it on App Store and Play Store, and depending on the circumstances, it would take anywhere between 2 to 3 days for the release to get published. So that can be problematic at times. Why? Because let's say you want to ship something critical or you have a bug that needs immediate fixing. So having to wait for 2 or 3 days might be a problem. That is where OTA updates comes into the picture. So what happens is that once the user opens the app, the update will get downloaded silently in the background, and on the next relaunch, the update is installed. The technology that I'm going to talk about today is React Native Stallion, which is the world's best OTA update platform today in 2025. So the main question is, why is it the best? And that is sort of what the whole talk is about. I'll just go ahead. Before answering the previous question, I'll answer another question, which I think would be the elephant in the room if people are using OTA updates, which is why not code push? So again, for those of you who don't know, code push is the most well-known, oldest, most widely used OTA update platform for React Native apps. Sorted. Okay. So it is the most well-known platform for React Native apps. So why isn't code push the best OTA update platform? For this, I will start with a story, and the story goes like this. You see, CodePush and I used to be friends, and it was going great. Like, it was all about shipping updates, then sipping coffee, shipping updates, having fun later. So it was all going great. At one point, we were sort of shipping around 2 to 3 updates in a day, which if you ask me today, that's sort of crazy. So everything was perfect, sort of. Like, it wasn't entirely perfect. You see, everything was going great until one day when CodePush decided to take a break. Obviously, I did not receive it very well. Initially, the kind of feelings that I felt was something of anger or panic. Later, I think it just got a little weird. I think the story is getting a little too far. I'll skip ahead to the point. Okay. Okay, I hope you guys are able to read this. The point. So the point here is that App Center and CodePush is dead, expired. All future development on CodePush SDK has been stopped, cancelled. So what does that mean for you and me? It means that you are stepping into the future with a technology that isn't evolving with time, and that can be problematic at times, right? What happens if you start facing an issue with your OT updates? Or what happens if React Native releases a new version which isn't compatible with CodePush? So you'll start facing these problems. Now, apart from the initial issue that I spoke about, which is, CodePush being dead, it's not like there weren't other issues. So these are some of the issues that I've personally faced in production while using CodePush. So one is limited analytics. All you get on the CodePush dashboard is like 3 numbers, which is downloads, installs, and rollbacks. For rollbacks, you don't know why rollbacks happened. There's no support for new architecture of React Native. There's limited rollback safety. Rollback is when, let's say, something goes wrong with your release or there's a faulty release. The SDK should automatically fall. Basically, the safety net that you get in case you are sending OTA releases. There's no inbuilt testing framework, which means that suppose you want to test your release before sending it out into App Store and Play Store. So you would want to test this internally. CodePush does not support this by default. Crashes and issues I'll come to in a second. And finally, you did not have a JavaScript API. All you had is like one event listener, and then all of the state management you would have to do yourself. This is a crash that I have personally faced while using CodePush. So I went into the issues section and I found that this crash, like, I'm not alone here. There's a lot of other developers who are facing the same crash. And so I was like, okay, it might get fixed. And then, CodePush died. And after that, when I go back to the issue section, I find that all of these crashes were actually closed, all of these issues. So some of them were marked as stale, some of them were marked as inactive, and some of them were closed by referencing other issues. And the other issues were the stale issues that I initially spoke about. So this was sort of a red flag if I wanted to continue to use code push in the future. Okay, so after sort of a bitter, weird breakup with code push, I decided to go out into the world after a reasonable amount of time, obviously, and look what else is out there. So what I find is that, you know what, code push isn't dead. There's like 50 of them out there. There's Jojo push, Mojo push, Air on Air. So for simplicity, I'll just call them code push 1, 2, 3, and 4. So what I'm doing is, I'm sitting there and I'm evaluating which among these solutions is the best for our use case. And that is when I find something rather peculiar. And that is that all of these platforms had one thing in common. And that was that all of their SDKs were pointing to the same old, unmaintained, issue-ridden, sleeping OG code push. So this again was a dead end for us. Before you step into the world to understand or look for something, it's usually a good idea to understand what you actually want in life. So that's what I did. I sat down and thought about what are the features that I'm looking for from an OTA platform. So we want something that is modern and reliable, which is keeping up with the pace of the evolving technology. We want security and safety in case stuff goes wrong. It should protect us. There should be some sort of safety net. And finally, after I have pushed a release into production, I would want in-depth analytics and insights about how my release is performing. So this is basically my checklist. This is what I was looking for. So this is what I thought to myself. I was like, there must be a better way. And that is when I found React Native Stallion. This was a very big build-up that I made. I'll just get into the main technology itself. Let's talk about testing. What you get to do is from code to testing in less than 1 minute, period. All you need to do is integrate the Stallion modal within your app. Run a command that will publish your update. You can go inside the modal, select any release that you want to test, download it, restart the app, and the release is applied automatically there itself without ever having to change your app build. So what this essentially means is that you are going to have to do no rebuilds, no delays, no hassle. This, to me personally, it was music to my ears. What next? Let's say you want to customize how your update is consumed by your users. So what Stallion offers is a flexible JavaScript API, which you can then consume to customize how your users receive the updates. In the picture, you'll see 3 rough strategies about how an update can be installed. So it could be a pop-up, it could be a bottom sheet, or it could be a strip on top that is prompting your users, because the update is already downloaded. All you need to do is get the user to restart the app. So you could use one of these strategies. Let's say you have a mandatory release where you want to force the user to update the app. So that also is possible just by using the JavaScript API. It's fairly simple. Okay, so analytics is another very important stuff when you are dealing with over-the-air updates. With Stallion, you get in-depth, like everything that you could ever ask for, be it installs, downloads, adoption, rollbacks, why rollbacks are occurring, all of that good stuff. So this was also sorted. In terms of safety and security, basically what you get is, for security, you get bundle signing. So what this feature is that you generate a private key and a public key. All the releases that you send, you sign them using your private key, and the public key goes inside your app. When an update is downloaded, it will be checked against that public key to make sure that your release is authentic. So this basically protects you from man-in-the-middle kind of attacks, which is awesome. In terms of safety, what you get is 2 very interesting features, which is automatic and manual rollbacks. So what are automatic rollbacks? Let's say you sent out a release which has a crash as soon as the app launches. So the SDK will understand that it is a crash and it will automatically fall back to the previous stable version without you having to do anything. So that is great. Now let's say you have a issue which was unintended, where there is a problem somewhere inside your app flow. So this also could be problematic, and with other platforms, the only way to fix this was sort of to create a new release and then republish it and wait for that release to get downloaded, which could sometimes take time. With Stallion, what you can do is just, there's a toggle button, just enable that, and for whichever users the release was downloaded, it would automatically revert and you're sorted from there on. So this is also super easy here. I think I covered both. I covered security, safety, yes. Let's talk about money, which is because of course money is important. So from the research that I did, Stallion offers the largest free tier in the market today. So here's what you get. You get 10,000 monthly active users. You get 50 GB of download bandwidth and 512 MBs of upload bandwidth per month. So if you are a small to medium size application, you can just continue to use Stallion for free. Now let's say you don't fall into these categories and your user base is higher than the numbers on the screen. So even for that, you could check out their pricing on their website. The pricing is fairly competitive with industry standards, and it should be fine for you if you are serious about your customer experience and how you want to sort of send updates to your users. So this is also great. The big question, who is using React Native Stallion? So it's quite a few people actually. You will see some logos appearing on the screen right now. These are all companies who are using Stallion either for production apps or for their internal testing purposes. In some cases, there are some companies who have also automated their release processes, in which case, like, suppose you want to do internal testing, then you could have automated workflows, and all of that is supported by Stallion's command line tools. So this is also great. So I was happy. If we go back to our initial checklist, you will remember that, if you remember, that all of the features that we wanted, we got them just in the previous slides, and actually slightly more than that. So that was great, and that is pretty much it. That was everything that we were looking for. Except, there's more. So React Native Stallion has one more hidden superpower, which other open source OTA platforms do not have. I mean, this isn't a superpower right now, but it is coming very soon. So let's say you have a 10 MB JavaScript bundle. So every time you make changes, you would have to sort of rebuild that 10 MB. That 10 MB gets uploaded, and then that 10 MB gets downloaded for your users. But sometimes the changes that you make is hardly 2 or 3 lines of code, right? So that would account for, let's say, 2 KBs. So with patch updates, what happens is that you run a command, a patch file is generated which contains only the changes. The patch is what gets uploaded to the server. The patch is what gets downloaded. So this will help you move a lot faster with your release cycles than what you were doing before. So this is also awesome. You should be on the lookout for this. So my life as a developer, I've lived by a code, and the code is simple. It is move fast and break things. And I swear I came up with this myself. Like, it is a very original idea. With Stallion, I would like to make an amendment here, which is that you can move fast, but you don't necessarily need to break things. And if you do break things, you can go back and correct those breakages without all the embarrassment, because of course nobody needs that. And that's it. I kept it short. Thanks a lot for your time. Big shout out to the React Native Stallion team. Shout out to Naman, who is sitting in the audience.